all the time. Yeah, it's all part of the game. I suppose that's why I worked on my footwork to avoid as many as possible. Um, but yeah, it's funny enough. Like it's the ones that it's the ones where you're not looking are the ones that hurt the most. Like if you're running at somebody, yes, it's going to hurt, but you brace for it. It's almost when you catch a ball from one side and somebody hits you from the other side and you're just not expecting it. But you know, I've given some, I've took some, you know, I've been knocked out, you know, I've had all kinds of stuff. But you know, love the game for what it is and the challenge. For me, being a relatively small guy, you know, have the challenge of bringing down some of these bloody giraffes. You know, 6'10", bloody 23 stone. I mean, that's a huge challenge in itself. But one, you know, I love doing. So yeah, I've had my fair share, but that's why I worked on my footwork. So I was able to walk at the age I am now instead of getting beat up for a living. Just unbelievable. I mean, I was lucky enough to have an amazing rugby league career, and one of the reasons I went to rugby union was for the international side, because it was so much bigger and better organised under Sir Clive Woodward and everything he wanted to try and achieve and do with this England team. And you know, for me, being in that team, and the timing was just, it couldn't have been any better. You know, what I brought to the England team, you know, these are not my words, other people's words. You know, I was a missing piece of the jigsaw. England were in a good place, but I brought something just slightly different to you know, to everybody else. And as a result, we got that famous win out in Australia, you know, in dramatic circumstances. And you know, it's changed all our lives. It's 20-year anniversary. You know, I've seen the guys probably more in the last couple of months than I've done within the last 20 years. And you know, it's great to see them. You know, we did something special. And you know, we gave the nation something to be proud of. So yeah, I feel, you know, honoured to have been part of it. And you know, I think that's why you want others to experience it, because you know, you can win all kinds of medals in your career, but there's very few people that will ever get to, play in a World Cup, never mind win one. So yeah, it's an amazing achievement, and something that, you know, I get reminded about probably most days, you know, where people were watching it, you know, their views on it. And it's nice when you can play a sport, something that you love, yet still have an opportunity to affect so many people. Yeah, that's where the test is. And you know, you can come on the scene and score a few tries and do a couple of things, but you know, when you play against the best teams, you don't get as much time. You know, they put you under more pressure. They don't make as many mistakes. They don't let you get away with stuff. So that for me is where you want to be. You know, where you don't have, you know, you have like very tiny margins for error. You know, you get punished if you do make errors, because they're just so good. And it's I don't know. I've always enjoyed playing the better teams than beating a team by 80 points. I've never really learned much about myself from when we played in those games, but guarantee, you know, you come up against, you know, a Jonah Lomu or, you know, a Mar Nonu or some beast like that, and you know you're in for it. You know, like, you've got to be on the money today, otherwise you're going to be made to look stupid. So I would always prefer to play against the best teams on the biggest stages, because I think that's what brings the best out in you. Very uncomfortable. I really shouldn't have played, because I had a grade 2 So I should have been off, I think, for about 5 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks. And then I came sort of back after about 2.5 weeks. But then every time I played, I sort of re-tore. So I'd never trained for about 3 weeks. It's just a case of try and get right, play a game, kind of re-tear, try and get right. And that was my sort of remaining gains as an England player, because I was retiring after the World Cup. So it was great that I got to come back, because it was the second game where we got beaten by South Africa 36-0, and if that was going to be my last international match, it would have been a nightmare, because we get absolutely hammered. But thankfully we managed to stumble through the pool stages and then play against Australia in Marseille. And this is why this tournament's really interesting, because on that night in 2007, we beat Australia, which nobody thought we'd do. And then France beat New Zealand, and then the whole tournament was turned on its head in one night. And that's what can happen. You know, for us it was great, because we went on to beat France in the semi, and then got to a final, and we didn't miss. You know, I mean, it was 15-9, I think the score. So it wasn't we didn't lose by much. So even though you're not always playing, you're not always in great form, you know, you can find it, and you can go on a run and you know, surprise yourselves really. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case for this England team, and we somehow just managed to win games, but also try and find a bit of form, especially further down the line when you come up against some of the better teams. I think, again, timing was great for me, because I was in, you know, I went into a good team surrounded by, you know, some great players. But I think you've just got to, for me, it's a case of, you don't need to know everything. You just need to be good at something. And I knew what I was good at. And, you know, I worked my backside up. You know, I got my head down. I worked really hard. I had to learn new skills. And probably brought a bit of humility into it as well. And as a result, you know, kind of backed myself, and everything went really, really well. I think sometimes when, there's not been loads of players that have done it, but I think sometimes some of those players have tried to become union players. And I think sometimes that's where they've struggled a bit. I think sometimes you've just got to, you know, be true to yourself, and you know, don't change your game too much. Otherwise, you change, you know, who you are and what you are. And you know, I think that's what made the difference for me, because I didn't do what every other winger or fullback would normally do. I would just, instead of kicking, I would just run it, you know, most of the time, and as a result, of course, goes loads more problems. So you know, it's the games, rugby league and rugby union are completely different, and it's only when you play at a high level that you realise just how difficult it is. But you know, if you want something bad enough and you work hard, then you know, you've got an opportunity of fulfilling you know, your dreams, and thankfully I did. One would be State of Origin. I wouldn't mind playing it, because they just look brutal. They're just knocking lumps out of each other, and I don't know why I'd want to get my head caved in, but it's at a level that you just think, anytime I watch rugby league and see a State of Origin, I don't know, there's just something about it, you just think, yeah, that looks cool, that. And then maybe for like a New Zealand, you know, I mean, New Zealand have been the form national team, you know, for so many years now. It would be interesting to pull on one of those shirts and see what it's all about. No, I'd have to throw a few sort of Lionel Richie moves in there or something. I'm not sure my Haka would be will be too great, to be honest with you. It was amazing for me because I actually started the Lions Test match before I started an England Test match. Because I came off the bench 3 times for England, and then after that I went on a Lions tour and started every Test. So I mean, it was great for me. It was great for me because I had an opportunity to learn from some of the best players in the Northern Hemisphere. And, you know, Brian was one of them. He was only a young lad at the time. We roomed together. And it seemed to be the tour for us that really put us on the map. You know, we both were playing well. That first Test going into the Gabba was amazing. Both scored tries. And yeah, just a fantastic, experience to, you know, you might have the England shirt, but it doesn't need to say you're gonna have the Lions shirt, you know, and you're gonna be back in some of the other players. It was tough. It was brutal. It was really tough Test series. It was a tough tour, especially because I had switched over from Rugby Union. From Rugby League to Union, because I'd already played 35 games before I made the switch. So in total, I played 60 games that year. So I was absolutely knackered by the end of it. But what an experience. The Lions in Rugby Union is one of the best experiences as a player, and also for a fan to go out. It's the only time where fans from other nations will cheer you on. Normally you'd be just getting heckled and abused, but when it comes to the Lions, everybody buys into that shirt, the history, and, you know, pulls together as one, and it's quite a force when it gets some momentum. Jonah Lomu. I don't need to think too much about that. An absolute beast. But Blackton is, you know, obviously passed away, but, you know, way ahead of his time. You know, if you could have built a player, you know, and sort of taken ingredients from lots of, he would be that player because he was so strong, he was big, he was tough, he was fast, he could step, you know, smash people, traumatize teams, not just players, score tries, you know, just you know, for me, like, the best player